All right. So, um, hi guys. Hi Angela. Hi Della. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm excited. I'm really excited to teach you guys about what's going on with Facebook and Instagram and what you can do with these platforms in your business and how the algorithm works and just all this kind of stuff. So I'm very excited. Um, I have never taught a live webinar before. I've spoken like at live events. Yes, Marilyn, if you have to jump off, no worries because I'm recording it and I will send the recording afterwards. So you'll get a copy of the recording and you'll be good. I talk a lot with my hands, by the way, so you'll probably see my hands like flopping around all over the place. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started since I don't want to keep you guys too super late. I don't know what time zones everybody is in, but for me, it's 7 p.m. my time, so it's approaching bedtime for my kids. So also, which by the way, if in the background you ever hear like a super loud noise, that's just my kids. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Now we talked about I'm recording it. You'll get the replay. So if you have to jump off, don't worry about it. And I think it'll be about an hour. And then I'll stick around afterward for questions. And like I said, just drop them in the chat if you have any questions or anything like that. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, so since we're talking about social media, hi Glenda, I just thought I would give you kind of like an overview of the bird's eye picture of social media and how big a deal it is in our daily lives. Now, I think we all spend a lot of time on social media probably, but this statistic is pretty telling. Like on average, a person spends 2 hours and 23 minutes a day on social media. Now, this is like all the platforms together. This is not just one specific platform, but that's pretty crazy. And you probably view social media like as a business owner as like a giant time suck, but as a consumer or as just an average person, you probably view it as, just a fun way to disconnect or to connect with people. The point is that it plays this huge part in our daily lives, and we're spending like a giant chunk of our time, like the length of a feature film every day, just scrolling on social media. But since we're talking about just Facebook and Instagram, let's talk about how much time people actually spend on those platforms. So on Facebook and Instagram, people are spending on Facebook, they're spending about 37 minutes per day. And they're spending about 53 minutes per day on Instagram, which is still a good amount of time per day. And of course, this is not like one giant chunk. It's like small concentrated bursts. Think about how you go on Facebook or you go on Instagram. You pop on, you scroll for a minute or two, you leave, you come back later, you repeat all day long. Okay, now we've kind of just talked about this, but I want you to think about why you go on Facebook and Instagram. Why are the apps even on your phone? Why do you go to them? You go to them because you like connection. Your friends are there talking about their lives. Maybe you're in a couple groups. You like seeing pretty photos of people's really clean kitchens. You like to watch stories because it's fun to get behind the scenes glimpse of people's life. You go there for connection. And that's what I want you to keep in mind as you're putting on your marketing hat or your sales hat and you're approaching your social media strategy in your business, is that you're going on there for connection. And that connection can extend to your business. So while you may be going on there to sell or to market, the way that you market and sell first on these platforms is through connection. And that's going to be the common theme. There's a phrase that I'm going to take right out of Mark Zuckerberg's mouth called meaningful connection. And that's been his like mantra for the last several years. That's why these platforms exist. It's to create a place for people to find community, find connection. And that's how the algorithms work. So I want you to just kind of keep that concept in your mind as we talk about all these things moving forward. So let's kind of start getting into the dirt here with these changes. And the very first one we're going to talk about, now this is not actually on your workbook because it doesn't really need to be. I just want you to know about it. There's going to be a, okay. Oh, you can't hear anything? Kim, make sure that you have, well, what browser are you on? Chrome is like the one that they recommended for this software, but it looks like Della's in Safari and it's working. And if it's jumpy, that could be like a connection with your internet. So just make sure that you're kind of like close to wherever your like router is or anything like that. I'm like right across from mine, so I could make sure that I got like the best connection. Okay, so This redesign that they're going to roll out, they were supposed to roll it out in the winter. It hasn't happened yet. So they're probably going to roll it out in the spring. And it's a total redesign of the desktop experience and the mobile app experience on Facebook. And the reason that they're doing this is because of that phrase I just mentioned, the meaningful connection. They really want this platform to inspire people to connect, and that's going to be the emphasis on this entire thing. So, hi Diana. So, you're going to see way more group content. In fact, groups are going to have like a whole dedicated section. You're going to see stories from people that you care about. Yeah, if you have the new, oh, you do have, I have like a new tab for like my notifications area. So I think little by little, they're kind of rolling this out. It's pretty cool. And this screenshot is just the desktop version, but the mobile one is similar. They're going for like a simple vibe. They just want you to be able to focus on the content that you care about. So I'm just showing you that because it's coming. Now, there isn't a plan change for Instagram. This is just mainly Facebook. But just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so now let's get into the actual changes that are specifically happening. And the first one is through groups. So we kind of talked about this, but there's groups themselves are not new. Groups have been around for a long time, but the way that groups are going to be optimized in the news feed is changing. And there's also like some specific changes around groups. You may already notice this, like when you're on Facebook, if you're in groups, you probably see a lot more updates from the groups in your newsfeed than maybe you ever did before. And this is a precursor to this change that they're making. I want you to think of groups like your new business page. And your business page is kind of like your new one-page website that just exists on your social network, because this activity that they're going to be sending to groups and this emphasis and focus on groups is just going to get larger and larger, because it's really truly the best way to build community. I mean, what better opportunity is there than when you have a bunch of people gathering for one specific purpose? So I want you to think about, like, if you don't have a group, does it make sense for your business? And my answer is going to be yes. I think everybody should have a group. And if you have a group and it's not very engaged, how can you engage it? And we'll talk about this a little bit as we go forward. So just keep in mind that Facebook is going super hard on groups. Okay, now let's talk about like the specific changes inside of groups, because that's changing a little. So they've added some classifications to help you better organize your group. There were only like a handful before. Now there's all these ones here on the screen. And this serves a twofold purpose. So the first one is that it helps the algorithm understand what your group does. So if someone is searching on Facebook for a group to join, they'll know if your group is classified as a buy and sell and they want to find a place to sell their stuff, this is a group that they should probably show to them as an option. And then the other reason that this is important is because when you are classifying your group, your title of your group should kind of match your classification. And when you're titling your group, this is just like a side topic. Think about how your ideal client or customer would search for your group. Because if you have like a clever, cute name for your group, people probably aren't going to be searching for that unless they like specifically know you. So add in some keywords or key terms or phrases to that title of that group to help the algorithm understand what you do and to make it easier for people to find you. Now let's kind of like quickly run through these classifications. So general is obviously general. If you don't fall into any of these other classifications, choose a general group. If you're a buy and sell page, that's pretty obvious. I mean, we've probably all seen or been in the buy and sell groups on Facebook. A gaming group is new. I don't think that applies to anybody here, but if you're someone who enjoys playing video games and streaming it for people to watch, that's a new option. Social learning is a really cool group. So I'm going to interrupt myself and say, just to remember that the main goal of Facebook and Instagram, yes, is to build meaningful connections on the platform. They don't want people to leave the platform. Groups obviously keep people on the platform. Social learning is such a fascinating classification that they've added. It's a way to create a course on Facebook. Now, you may not realize this, but you can actually charge people to use your group. I think it's like $3.99 a person per month or something like that. And you could set up a very like intro level course using the social learning classification. You could ask people to pay for your group to do it. They're sort of like subtly competing with these class or workshop softwares that build courses. So that's very fascinating. And the way that this would work if you did this classification was if you had content that you wanted the members of your group to move through in a very specific order, you would set up units or like mini courses for them to move through. And in each unit, you can put posts or files or quizzes or downloads or whatever you want and kind of build out a course. So if you had like product education that you wanted people to know about the product that you sell, this would be a really awesome way to take advantage of that feature. Okay, so jobs is another classification. This probably doesn't apply to anybody here either, but if you had a website where you helped people in your local community find a job, you would want to do that classification. And then work is really actually very interesting. I think it's Facebook's attempt to replace Slack because again, they want everybody to be on the platform all the time. It's for people who work together and they can kind of communicate about what's going on in their work environment or like, hey, cover me for this shift, or here's a post about like, here's the content you need for the week, like that kind of thing. So it's just very interesting. Let's see. All right, so let's move on to the next slide here. Okay, so there's different classifications, but then there are also these other things in your group called sections that you can add. And you can add these regardless of the classification that you have. There are 3 of them. And I'm only showing you one of them because only one is new. So one of them is social learning skills. So if you did not want to have like a group specifically designated as a course, but you still wanted to have the opportunity to have that sectioned content, you could do that by activating the social learning skills. Watch party is the other one that's not new. And that's just if everybody in your group wants to get together and like watch a video together, they can do that. And then you can also actually have topics in your group, which isn't like a section, but I think it's a setting that you can flip on. And then if you have topics, then you can kind of organize the content in your group. So that's really helpful. If you have a lot of different topics that everybody talks about, you can put these topics in and then people can tag their posts with a specific topic. Now, what we're going to talk about is mentorship, because this is a really cool feature that they've added. So if you were creating a group or a community around like a skill that you're teaching or a product that you want people to know lots of things about, and you have people in your community that are already rocking it in some way, you could pop them into your group and then you could turn on this mentorship category. And what Facebook will do is it will have these people who are already like super active, know what they're doing, know their stuff, be able to mentor other people in your group who are new, who don't know what's going on, which kind of takes you out of the hard selling equation and helps you sell passively through people who are already like loving what you do and you have no work required. So Facebook connects them together, sends them questions and encourages them to talk with one another and fosters that whole conversation for you. So it kind of is a way to create a brand ambassador environment without any work really. So I wanted to tell you about that because it's a very cool feature. Okay, so how does this apply to your business? Because here's the thing with groups. If you want to be seen, if you want your group to be seen, you've got to have an engaged community, which means your members have to be active and participating in the group. So how do you get them to do that? This is how. So you have to kind of approach your group in a very strategic way. You can't just throw a group up and be like, all right, everybody, we're here and we love this and I'll talk to you when I talk to you. It doesn't work like that. So here's like 4 things to keep in mind about groups. The very first one is they've got to be specific. So when you're creating a group, say you're a photographer, you can't just have a photography group. You should have like, surely in your photography business, there's something that sets you apart as like being unique. Maybe it's your style. Maybe it's the way you edit the photos. Maybe it's the fact that you only focus on newborns. Your group can have that same kind of theme. It's got to be specific because you're gathering people who have a very narrow or niche interest that you can serve them super amazingly well at. So it's got to be specific. Now, the next thing about your group is it's got to have some form of organization, because if you think about when you like go to a party and you don't know anybody, you walk in the door and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know where the bathroom is. I don't know where the snacks are. Like, I don't know what to do. Groups are the same thing. When someone walks into the door of your group, you've got to have a welcome mat for them. You've got to have some kind of structure or organization that you're cluing them in on and giving them the keys to understand so that they know what the expectation is on them in the group, how they can be active in the group, and what the group is all about. And you can do this by having like an announcement post. You could do a video. You could even set up a unit about it, saying like, here's your onboarding section to help you understand how to use the group, that kind of thing. Okay, the third thing is you've got to have a way for people to feel as though they're getting some wins in your group with you. So they're there, you brought them there because ultimately you want them to buy from you in some manner, but they've got to have a win of some sort in order for that to happen, because that legitimizes you in their eyes. It builds authority, and it also builds that relationship. And that's what you're trying to do with your group. You're trying to foster a relationship with your community and translate them into like raving fans. So let's take an example and say you're like a yoga instructor and you want to create a group. So yoga is like way too broad. You can't do that. You need to like talk about the specific style of yoga, like maybe it's hot yoga or something. So you're naming your group to specify what that is. You've welcomed everybody when they've come in. And then you decide, I'm going to set up some units. And I'm going to have like basic poses 101. And it's going to have like some free videos and things like that. And I'm going to have a next unit that talks about like advanced poses. And then I'm going to have another unit that says, when you're ready to start exploring how to do like headstands and, balancing on your fingertip, submit this form to get a phone call with me. But the reason they'll be motivated to do that is because they've moved through these units and they've gotten these little wins from you along the way. You've taught them, you've excited them, and now they're going to get on the phone with you and you're going to sell them on this awesome video package that you have that's like all of your yoga instruction videos wrapped up in one thing. So that's what I mean by giving them a series of wins to help them see what you can do, why it matters, why they care about it, and why you're the right person to help them. And then the very last thing that groups have got to do is they've got to make people comfortable by creating an environment of safety and familiarity. So this is as simple as just like you showing up every day and authentically being yourself and just hanging out and getting to know the people in there, and also being real and vulnerable and sharing like things about your journey, because that's going to help them connect with you. So like people want to see the behind the scenes. If you're an artist, they want to see the studio that you're creating the art in that you're asking them to buy. They want to know about the time that you went to the art supply store and your most favorite paint was not there. They want to hear all this stuff because it makes you more real to them and it makes them want to connect to you even more, and it creates that familiarity. Okay, so I know that was like a ton about groups, but groups are going to be major. So that was why I wanted to spend a lot of time on it. Because like I said, they're the new business page. But now we're going to move on to the next change, which is newsfeed organic targeting. This is really cool. So if you have at least 100 fans on your page, you probably have this feature. I don't know if it's totally rolled out yet, because on like one of my pages, I didn't have it quite yet, but I think they're slowly rolling it out. And here's what it means. You can now target your organic updates that you put on your Facebook page in a very similar way to how you would target on Ads Manager. So when you go to your page and you start to type your update, and there's a little button that says public, and that's how you would like display, hit that button and a drop-down menu will open, and you see that drop-down menu on the screen here. So these targeting options, this is exactly how it is in Ads Manager. It's interest-based targeting. And then you can specify demographic information too. So let's talk about why this matters. So this matters because we all know that organic reach is declining. It's like one of the most frustrating things about posting stuff to your Facebook page is like 2 people see it and one of them is your mom, and like she already knows what you're doing. Facebook, up until now, hasn't really had a way to control that. They've had hashtags, but their hashtags don't really work the way that Instagram hashtags work, which Instagram has had this for a very long time through their hashtags. Hashtags are an awesome way on Instagram to organically grow when you use them strategically and think about like how your ideal client is searching on Instagram, and you use that for your hashtags. But up until now, Facebook has kind of left this whole thing up to the algorithm and you buying ad space. So this is like almost kind of like an olive branch of peace. Like, hey, we realize organic reach is really awful, but we're going to unlock some more features for you. Because what's cool is like I pulled up photography as an example here, and it cut off, but it was like over 1 million possible people. It's not just your fans, it's everybody on Facebook who has that interest. So this is you helping train the algorithm. Like, okay, when I put up this kind of update, this is what it means. These are the people who need to see it. Now you go help me find those people. So that's what's so cool about this. So definitely use this if it's available on your business page. Okay, so the third change is that this kind of goes along with organic targeting. It's the amount of copy that's visible, just like at first glance on the news feed on Facebook and on the feed on Instagram is shrinking, and the image size only on Facebook is shrinking. So on Facebook, that image size, and this is for images and video, is going down from an aspect ratio of 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. This is just on mobile news feed though. And the reason that they're focusing on mobile news feed is because most everybody accesses Facebook through their mobile app. Now, in terms of the copy, so the copy is shrinking from on Facebook, it was 7 lines before you saw the see more link down to 3. And then on Instagram, it was 5 lines that you'd see the see more, and now it's going down to 2. So, what does this mean for you as a business owner? Well, it means that you need to start thinking about the captions that you write on social media, kind of like an email headline. Because if they're only seeing those first few lines, it's kind of like a subject line on an email, which means if you think about it, you could start treating your captions as like those first 2 lines as your subject line, and like how can you hook them in? How can you evoke some kind of emotional reaction? How can you shock them? How can you surprise them? All in a good way, of course. That makes them want to tap see more. So the cool thing about this though is that while yes, this is true for page updates, for ads, for a lot of time, like the people and things like that, it's not necessarily true for groups. So groups don't seem to yet be applying under this rule. I've seen even with groups on my newsfeed have like full paragraphs displayed because they want you to tap over to the group and hang out in the group and spend more time on the platform. So something to keep in mind is as you're weighing the content that you post on your page versus what you're putting in your group. Okay. Does this apply? I'm going to pop up here and look at these questions. So Angela, were you asking where to find the organic newsfeed targeting? If so, that was when you are writing an update on your Facebook page, there's like these 3 little buttons under it. And one of them will say public or something like that. When you tap that, a new button, a drop down menu will open. And one of them will have the option to say like organic targeting or interest targeting. You tap that, and that opens up that box that I had displayed. And then Tish, can you repeat yes, on your Facebook business page. Can you say, what are you asking? Does this only apply if your page is public? Do you mean the organic newsfeed targeting? It apply, like your page would definitely have to be published in public for you to get that advantage if that's what you were asking. And I think you have to have at least 100 fans on your business page to get that option to do the organic targeting. Okay. Okay, and then what was this other question? We are a local Lions Club. So would social learning and topic creation only work within groups? It's only available for groups. You probably see the thing with the business page is people aren't going to your business page to necessarily learn. They are going to a group to get more in-depth. They've purposefully gone to the group and they expect more in-depth content there. You could totally do like a high level version of it on your page and invite people to your group. You could definitely do that. You can actually associate your group with your Facebook page, which you should do because people will be able to find your group that way too more easily. So you could always tell them like, we're talking about this, and then if you want to get more information, you can join our free group. So that could be a way that you kind of tie all that in. Okay, so let's see. Now let's talk about the 4th change, which is about video. So obviously video is not new. That's not changing. But what's changing is how video is optimized and served on Facebook. And it's about to be the thing. Like video is the thing right now. And they've been saying that for a while, but it really is becoming the thing. So this graph I put on the slide just kind of shows you the engagement of video on Facebook versus YouTube, which YouTube is only video and Facebook gets more engagement on videos. So I just found that very fascinating. Okay, but like we know that video is awesome, but what exactly is the purpose of video on social media? Because you don't just want to like take a bunch of videos of your cat and stick it on there because, well, people might like that. They would probably get tired of it and it has nothing to do with your business. So remember, the ultimate goal of Facebook and Instagram is to increase time on platform and keep people on the platform. And if they're trying to do that, video is one of the most engaging ways that they can do that, because an organic post that you put on your business page is just text and an image. You can scroll through that in like a second and you're done. If you put up a video, that's a lot more compelling. Now, within the first 3 seconds, people are deciding if they're going to watch this or not. So there's a lot of pressure on those first 3 seconds to like really hook them in. But then once you've got them, you're golden and your engagement is going up. And I'm going to show you an example of like what this looks like. It's pretty cool. But it also means to stop thinking of video as a way to sell. Video is a way to build community and to build your brand and to build awareness and visibility of your brand. So let's kind of get into the weeds of what that means. So Facebook kind of like came out and said, we want you to make more videos. Here's how you do it. And they specifically recommended episodic video content. So what does that mean? This does not mean you have to become the next Netflix and create these like amazing productions. It just means you have to start thinking of video as a way to consistently create content. So you got to think of, how can I like regularly show up on video and regularly share about my brand, about my business? And that can be your story. Now, they kind of came out and said, so if we're looking for episodic content, we want video to be a specific length. Now, this is their research from their like millions upon people who are on Facebook watching videos. And they have found that 3 minutes or more is a good length for video. 1 to 3 minutes is okay. It needs to be at least 1 minute. So that's not a lot of pressure just to come up with like a few minutes of video. So, I mean, I think we could all do that. And then what classifies as episodic video is an uploaded video, a live video, or even a story video. These can all be episodic video content. It's just consistent video content that you're putting at a time or on a day that people can rely on you to do. That's kind of the key. Like if you think about a television show, don't think about a Netflix show that you can like watch all at once. Think about like an actual television show. And it comes out, your favorite one is like every Thursday at 6 p.m. You can count on it. Same thing with this episodic video. Pick a day, pick a time, and stick with it. And that's what you got to do. Okay. So how can you like leverage this? So I kind of mentioned that live video is an example of episodic content. Live video, I think, is the way that this is going. So any video works, but live video is special. It really works. So this screenshot that you have here is from a client I've worked with. Those little orange bars are the reach for her live videos. The really fat ones are. The skinny ones are the reach on her static pace posts on her business page. The next column over is engagement, and you can also see the engagement on the live videos in comparison to the engagement on the static posts. So this is why I'm saying like live video is the thing. If you're kind of already thinking like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go live, I don't want to do this, I'm going to challenge you and tell you, you can go live, you can do this, and it doesn't have to be a lot of time, just like 3 to 5 minutes, you can totally do this. Okay, so, oh, and the other thing to kind of know about this is Facebook is rolling out a live producer tool that's going to be very helpful for kind of improving the quality of live video. You might already have it. If you like click go live on your Facebook page or in your group, it might tell you, do you want to try out the new live producer tool? And you can just say yes, and it'll show you over to it. And it's for people, it'll benefit everybody. Like it's a better quality live video, but it's especially for people who like, if you like to hook up a fancy camera or if you're streaming to multiple places at once. Okay, so, and if you're thinking already about like how you could use live video, I just want to tell you, you don't have to go live every day. In fact, don't. I mean, that's too much. Nobody can keep up with that. If you even just commit to going live once a week, I would bet like my most favoriteest latte in the entire world that you will see these same results. Like if you consistently do it, if you create that episodic live video content, the algorithm is going to reward you and you're going to see this growth. Okay. Let's talk now about, Glenda, you could do videos or lives especially though. Okay, Kim, I'm gonna come back. Let me read this. You could totally do contest live. That's a great idea. We want to create an environmental project. Yeah, you could definitely do that, Kim. That's an awesome idea. I like how you're thinking there. Okay, so let's kind of talk about, wait a minute, did I skip one? Yeah, here we go. Okay, so we've talked about kind of, this video, all of these things that are happening, these changes. We talked a lot about groups. And we've talked a little bit about organic versus paid. Now, there's like a balance here between organic content and paid content on Facebook and Instagram. Which, side topic, I don't know if I clearly emphasize this, but the video on Instagram is just as important. I'm not talking about IGTV on Instagram. That's like a whole separate thing. But Instagram lives, Instagram videos that are uploaded to your feed, and video stories are awesome too, especially the lives. Okay, so we've talked about the organic, and now we're going to really get into some nitty-gritty details about organic versus paid, and how do you know, like, should I pay for this or not? Do I need to be running ads? Should I just focus on organic? What do I do? So let's kind of talk about some specifics. So we all know that organic reach is very sad. Like, it's really a big bummer. And in some sense, it definitely corresponds to the algorithm, specifically when the algorithm went from chronological to non-chronological. And as the algorithm has gotten smarter over time, it has been driven to focus more on community and more on like what you care about, your reach has declined significantly. I think it was in 2012 when Facebook moved from chronological to non-chronological, and engagement and reach went from like 12 to 20% to like, I think whatever that 5% number is. And then in Instagram, it was in 2016 when it went to non-chronological. And this graph only shows Facebook, but Instagram is very similar. So right now on Instagram, organic reach is about 2.4%. And what this means is if you take your followers and you multiply that number by 1.2 or 2.4, that what you get is the number of people you should expect to reach organically anytime you post something. Okay, so this is kind of, like I said, all related to the algorithm. And what we kind of all have to come to grips with is that, yes, Facebook definitely wants you to hang out. They want to build a community. They want you to have all that good stuff, but they want to make money too. It's a for-profit platform. But I want to make it clear though, that you don't have to always use Facebook ads to sell stuff. There are plenty of ways you can cheaply, affordably use Facebook ads to magnify your reach. So that's what we're going to talk about now. So if you're doing live video, you're doing your best with your group, all this kind of stuff, and you have like a couple posts that really get traction, throw a few dollars of ad spend behind them. Drop them into Ads Manager, target them, try to reach more people who like your stuff, or try to reach a new audience. And if you do this periodically over time, it's kind of like you're sort of helping the algorithm along to more quickly figure out who needs to be seeing what they need to see, especially if you focus on targeting your page likes or people who've interacted with your page. Because when you can get people to see your stuff and they remember how much they enjoy seeing you and they start liking and commenting, guess what's going to happen? It's going to be a snowball effect. So I do this with my clients sometimes. That's what this screenshot is these are just a few select posts that we took and we boosted them just a little, and we got really great results on the organic, then started increasing as the paid was also increasing. So it does work. And these were spending just like a few bucks a day. So you don't even have to spend a lot of money. This concept is called brand lift. So there's a whole like ad objective called brand awareness in Facebook ads, and that's what you would select. And it just gives people this bump that they remember who you are and they start interacting more with your page. Okay, so all right, now we're going to kind of transition. We're thinking about organic, we're thinking about paid. We're going to talk about the algorithm, but I want you to do an experiment. I want you to open up Instagram or open up Facebook, and I want you to just look at the very first post. And probably it's someone that you really care about. It's probably like a friend or family member, or it could even be a group that you're really heavily involved in. And then the very next post is going to be an ad. And then you're going to go some more. And there's going to be like 2 or 3 more posts, depending on whether you're on Facebook or Instagram, maybe even 4. And one of those is probably a group. And then there's going to be another ad. And this pattern of 2 to 3 ad, 2 to 3 ad is going to repeat until you exit the app. And then you come back in and it's the same thing. 1 ad, 2 to 3 ad, over and over and over again. Okay, now the reason I bring this up is twofold. So first of all, I want you to notice that there are patterns because the algorithm is a machine. And when you start paying attention to the patterns, you can figure out how the algorithm works. It doesn't have to be a mystery. The second thing I want you to realize is every single one of those ad spots are opportunities for you. If you want to insert your content that you're creating and that's getting a little bit of organic reach, you can have one of those ad spots and you can increase your visibility. Okay, so let's actually talk now about the algorithm and get into what these ranking factors are. So, like I said, the algorithm is literally a machine. It has predictable patterns, which you saw. And we're going to talk about these patterns in terms of the 4 signals that the algorithm monitors as it's deciding what content to show to a person at a given moment. And then the second thing I want you to think about is that the 2 ways that you train the algorithm. So you train the algorithm as a user when you comment on specific things, you go to specific groups, you like specific pages, you interact on ads. You're training the algorithm with all of your activity. You can also train the algorithm as a business owner and a content creator by doing these things that we've talked about, by doing the targeting, by consistently showing up, by doing the video, and by really thinking about the copy that you're writing, the titles that you put in the videos, the description, and really approaching Facebook, this content that you're putting in here, from like an SEO kind of perspective. Like, how can I optimize around the things that my people care about so that I can gain visibility? So that's how you can train the algorithm as a business owner. But let's talk about how the things that the algorithm does impact you and the things that you're posting. Okay. So the very first thing is that the age of your page is a ranking factor. This is really similar to Google or any other search engine. So the older a website is, the more authority it has. Similar on Facebook and Instagram. The older a page or a profile is, the more clout or authority that it has. And this is not in relation to like every single page on Facebook or every single business profile on Instagram. This is in relation to things that are similar to you. So when you set up your Facebook page or when you set up your Instagram profile, you classified yourself. So now you're being compared with everybody else in that same classification. So think about that as we talk about these ranking signals, because that's really what's going to be working around, against, and for you is all of your neighbors and what they're saying and what they're doing. And this is one piece of that. Now, if you're brand new, like if you've newly created a page, don't get discouraged, because the more you consistently show up, the more you create content, the more you put yourself out there and do some of these tactics and strategies that we've talked about, you can overcome this, and the older you'll get on the platform. And also, this is not the only ranking factor. There are 3 more. So let's talk about the next one. So the next one is the percentage of engaged followers, or just like the percentage of engagement, not necessarily followers, that are interacting with your page or with your posts or even with your stories on Instagram and Facebook. So this little graph that's here, this is the average engagement rate for Instagram. It's very similar on Facebook, and you'll notice that the more people you have, the tinier your engagement rate gets. So what is engagement rate? You can calculate engagement rate in a myriad of ways. You can calculate it on like an individual post. You can calculate it on like your entire profile. It's a very simple mathematical formula. Your engagement rate is a percentage, and it tells you for the number of people that saw this piece of content, these are the number of people that actually did something with it. And that's expressed as a percentage. So to discover this, you would add up all of your engagements, which would be shares, likes, comments, saves, all that kind of thing. That's the whole tally of engagements. And then you divide it by the number of reach that you have, because reach are the individual people that saw that and had an opportunity to engage with it. And then you multiply that by 100 to get a percentage. So you can kind of, use that formula to see, like, am I on track with this individual post? Like, what's happening here with this? And the reason that this is important is, first of all, to make sure that you're on track. So like a normal engagement rate, like I said, depending on the size of your following, is anywhere from 1 to 8%. Now it's going to vary like post by post, but on average, you should be seeing, somewhere in that ballpark, depending on the size of your following. Why this matters and why this is a ranking factor is because there are a lot of people who buy followers or use follower pods to kind of game the system or artificially pump up their numbers. And so what happens when they do that is that engagement isn't real. So it's not consistent. It doesn't stick around for a long time. Like that, when people are doing this, when you see like a huge wave, like they suddenly have like 5,000 new followers on Instagram or 3,000 new people who like their business page. And you're like, where did that come from? They probably bought them. And then a little bit of time will pass and then all of that will fall away. These people ultimately get hurt by the algorithm, which is a good thing. They should get punished by the algorithm because they're trying to game the system. So it will, and if people engage in this, they end up not being able to take advantage of hashtags. They end up getting even worse organic reach. So that's kind of why this algorithm ranking exists. So let's talk about the next one. The next one, we've talked about this a lot already, but it's the consistency of your posts. And this is super important because if your people can count on you to consistently show up every day and even like around the same time every day, that is going to do amazing wonders for your reach and your visibility. So this really comes down to just you deciding when you're going to post and then sticking with it, even down, like I said, to the specific times. And then, of course, that begs the question, like, well, how do I figure that out? I'll tell you how you figure it out. You need to structure this around when your people are online. And you can see this information in your page insights or your audience insights on your Instagram profile. And this screenshot here is Instagram insights. So you can like tab through the different days and you can see what times people are online. And it does vary a little day to day. And when I've experimented this with my clients, there's totally a difference. So like if you're putting up your updates when less people are online, it really does make a difference, not only in like your people who like you seeing, but also the hashtags actually working for you too. So it's important to be aware and just like take a look at those insights. When are your people online? And start scheduling or putting your posts up around that time. And it can be like within that hour. So like the 3 p.m. hour or the 6 p.m. hour. Okay, so let's see. All right, so then the other thing kind of related to this is like I think there's a question or there's a debate that goes back and forth like do the times that people are online truly matter because the algorithm is not chronological. This is true. It's not chronological, but it's recent. So recency is not necessarily a ranking factor, but it's a consideration. So when you think of Facebook or Instagram, when you think of the feed, each one of those squares is like a blank spot that are up for grabs when you log on or when you open up the app. So the algorithm is looking for all these ranking factors. It's thinking about the person that's opening the app, their activity, what they seem to be into. And then it's thinking about like if you match up for that and how recent your stuff is. So if your people are normally online on Instagram at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday, and they hop on and you've timed your post, you have a way better chance of being up there early on when they're scrolling to be able to see your stuff versus if you've put it at 9 a.m. because you didn't want to deal with it later in the day. But now they're on at 6 p.m. and so many hours have passed. And think of like the hundreds of thousands of posts that have been posted between 9 and 6, they will now see instead. So that's why this matters. Okay, so the fourth and final ranking factor is your engagement with your followers. Because, like we've said over and over again, we're building community. That's why we're on here. Yeah, we're on here to sell, but we can't sell if we don't have a community. And the way that you build community, the main way, is by talking to your people and learning about them and engaging with them because they're the reason why you're here. They're why you're creating content. They're why you're making your art. They're why you're teaching yoga. They're why you do all of this. So if you are in there responding to comments, if you're in there liking and you're actually like being meaningful with that, there's no like minimum number of words that you have to type. But if someone like replies with an emoji, don't just like it, you reply with an emoji. Like get in there, interact with them, have fun with them, and then consistently check for those replies, those updates and all that kind of stuff, and just be an active participant in the community that you're building. And honestly, this is why groups are so awesome because they make it so much easier because everybody's in there having a conversation anyway. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to kind of roll through here with the questions real quick. Can we ask people on our personal page to join our group? Oh, yeah, totally. I would invite anybody. Well, I would invite people who are your ideal client to your group. So if people on your personal page are your ideal client, yes, go ahead and invite them to your group. If they are not ultimately going to buy from you, they don't need to be in your group. Okay, Emily, I'm mainly on Instagram and I've noticed, oh, hi, Emily. How are you? It's good to see you. We used to be neighbors. Okay, so bot likes on other accounts. Yeah, so these if you put up any kind of answer box, you probably get a lot of bot replies there too, like cool page or like a bunch of emojis or I don't know if this doesn't have anything to do with the question that you asked, but I just wanted to tell you I love your content. These are fake people. They're bots, and these people are either using a bot to artificially inflate their engagement on the platform. Because the thing with Instagram and Facebook too, not only should you be engaging with your community, but you should be an active user of the platform. This is particularly true of Instagram because there's no groups on Instagram. There's hashtags on Instagram, but there's no groups. So they want you to be like not only posting stories, posting on your feed, but you got to be out there like finding like going to the hashtags that you're tagging and finding people to talk to, building community that way. So people will use these tools to artificially create that engagement for them. They totally are getting hammered. It sucks that they do it for sure, but the algorithm will find them and the algorithm will not let them succeed. So that is a good thing. And what I find really a big bummer is there are even people who have like major accounts that do this and they have their bots like send automatic replies to answer boxes or to do silly comments on posts, and it's just a really unfortunate business practice. It's very similar to buying followers, and yeah, they kind of are buying likes. So and it is very frustrating, yes, like with the because you're authentically engaging, you're doing all the right things, but it's a small win for them. Like they're gonna fail. Just keep reminding yourself of that. You're in it to win it, they're in it to make a buck really quick, and they're gonna fail. Okay, so now we're just going to recap real quick, and then if there's any other questions, we can go through them. So to recap the changes, groups are huge. You can target your organic business page updates, which you should totally do. Images and viewable text before the see more link are decreasing on the mobile app and on newsfeed. Images just on mobile. Video is huge, particularly live on Facebook and Instagram. And then organic content is decreasing in reach, but you can use some of these strategies to help it out. And then don't be afraid to like throw a couple bucks behind it if it seems like something is working. Okay, so what does all of this mean? Like I'm going to give you, oh wait, let's talk about the ranking factors. So, and then the 4 ranking factors were the age of the page, the percentage of people who are engaging, the consistency of your posts and the recency, and then how engaged you are with your followers and on the platform, especially on Instagram. Okay, so now let's talk about like what do you do with all of this? And I have some recommendations for you. So first, think about a group. What kind of group could you create? Even if you do mainly go on Instagram, could you leverage a Facebook group? Just think about it. Let's say you're a photographer, for example. You maybe you have like some products to sell online or you're a local photographer. You could still totally create a group. You could create a group that teaches your community how to take awesome photos on their iPhone. And you could go live once a week teaching tips and tricks on iPhone photography. And guess what will happen? You'll be known as an authority. You'll be trusted. And the next time they want to know something or they want to buy something, they're going to remember you and come to you because you poured into them this knowledge. And I would say to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, leverage live video in your group. You can actually simultaneously stream. So if you have a group and you have a business page and you want to try live video, open up 2 browser windows and stream at once and do it that way. Just kill 2 birds with 1 stone. There's no penalty for doing that. The more live video, the better. So try with that. Okay, the next thing I would say is to totally target those updates. So don't think that your page is dead. It's not dead. Like I said, it's kind of like your one-page website, but you still got to put content on it. Be consistent. It's like the front door. It can be the front door to your group. So just square up in your mind that it's not going to be the traffic generator or the lead machine that it once was, but it can totally funnel people into your group. And it can be a way for you to just kind of like get your name out there and build that visibility. Okay, now specifically on Instagram, and for hashtags, like that would sort of be like the targeting, like do the targeting. But on Instagram, since you can't, if you are mainly on Instagram, you can't take advantage of groups unless you want to bring your people to Facebook. But this is where hashtags come in. So really think about your hashtags because hashtags are the huge like driver for growth on Instagram, no question. Now, Instagram finally came out and confirmed that if you're dropping your hashtags to like the first comment, that's apparently not a best practice anymore. So just embed them in the actual caption of your post and then kind of begin with like 7 to 10 hashtags. And don't put the hashtags that you want on there, which sounds counterintuitive. Do the hashtags that your people are searching for as it relates to that content you've posted. So really get into the head of your ideal client or customer or whatever, and what are they looking for on the platform that you align with and that you can serve them content on. Put those hashtags on there. And then the other thing with hashtags is mix it up. Don't do all like huge hashtags, like million plus. You're going to get lost in the noise. Do some of those and then do mid-level ones and then do really tiny ones because you can very easily stand out on those. And that's going to be a huge driver for growth. And then since you can't create a group, you can create a signature hashtag. So create a signature hashtag, drop it in your profile, encourage your like biggest and bestest fans to use it and to tag you with it and get it out there and use it as a tool to grow your group or your community on Instagram. Okay. And as a side note, like what I just said there, you've got to train your audience. You've got to tell them what you want them to do. And that's like a really great example of that is just tell them to use the hashtags. Okay. Now, the final thing here is to just engage, authentically engage. Try to just ask questions, ask open-ended questions. Now, as I say that, this is a fine line because if you can't say things like comment with your opinion on or like this post and then tell me blah blah blah. That's called engagement baiting, and the algorithm is going to penalize you for that. But you can say things like, "I'm curious what you think about this outfit," or "Tell me the last time that you did blah." And it's like conversationally related to that caption. So you're going to have to be a little more creative about how you engage and to like not use those really obvious baity kind of words, but it's going to benefit you in the long run and it's really going to help you build those meaningful connections. Okay, that's pretty much it. That was all I wanted to cover. So I'm going to roll back up here and look here. Yes, I just talked about the hashtags. Okay. So yeah, you can use the word share, but you might get penalized by it. And the reason that they don't want that is because they call it engagement baiting and the algorithm does look for that. So here's how smart the algorithm is. It has text recognition. It even has voice recognition. So even if you say it in your video, you will be penalized for it. And the reason is because you're artificially encouraging engagement. They want spontaneous, meaningful engagement, which is why open-ended questions are where it's at. So the more you can think about how you can spark conversation, the better off you'll be. And then the other thing to kind of keep in mind with that too is if you are someone who uses your business page or even your Instagram feed to take people off platform, so like you're sending them to a website and you're doing this a lot, that's going to be a penalizing factor too. Because like I said earlier, they want people to stay on platform. They want you to be there and spending all your time there. So try not to like send people away. Try to keep all that engagement on the platform. Yes, Suzanne, I did record it. So there will be a replay. And Charlene, that's correct. Don't put, well, Instagram said, don't put the hashtags in the first comment. You can do like a dot, 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 and drop them down below your caption and have the hashtags display that way. Okay, penalizing. They don't penalize for swipe up. Now, the reason is you don't leave the platform. So when you swipe up, it's a window inside the platform. So they're technically not leaving, and that's okay. And as a content creator, rewarding you with a swipe up is enabling you to monetize your Instagram platform. So that's keeping you on the platform too. So a swipe up is not a penalty. Okay, are there any other questions from anybody before we kind of wrap this up? Okay. All right. If you want to find me anywhere, this is my stuff where you can find me. I do have a group. I think a lot of you are in the group. I'll send out the group link via email if you want to join the group. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have for you. And I want to thank everybody for watching. This was awesome. And I will be in your inbox tomorrow with the replay. So, everybody have a good evening, and I will chat with you all later. Bye.